Hi guys, it's Lisa Unger, and I am here for another episode of Three Good Things. And I'm super excited today because I get to talk with the amazingly talented, iconic Peter James. He is a UK #1 best-selling novelist. I'm sure he needs no introduction. He's the creator of the much-loved Detective Superintendent Roy Grace, and he has 17 Sunday Times #1 bestsellers under his belt and over 20 million copies of his books sold worldwide. I just started I Will Follow You, and it is, of course, immediately addictive, gripping, fantastic. And I will just have to, just coincidentally, I have to say that it's also right now 99 cents on Apple Books. So it's like kismet, right? That we get to talk. Your new paperback is in your, you said, Peter, in its 5th week on the Sunday Times bestseller list.
Number one.
#1, of course,
Yeah.
amazing, and we have this wonderful Apple Books deal here in the U.S. So it just happens to be coincidence, and it's so if you have not read Peter James, which I'm sure everybody in the world has, if you have not, this is a perfect place to start. Peter, thank you for joining me today for Three Good Things.
Great to see you. And I mean, I'm sucking up some of the lovely Florida warmth from my
Yes,
cold
I'm
hour
sending some
in the
sunshine.
UK.
And where are you in the UK?
We're in Jersey, the island of Jersey, Old Jersey, as opposed to New Jersey,
Right.
which is, we are the southernmost tip of the British Isles. It's an island 9 miles by 5 miles.
Wow.
It has a distinction, along with the other Channel Islands of Guernsey and a couple of others, of being the only part of the British Isles that was occupied by the Nazis during the war.
Oh, wow.
But they have gone now.
That's good. That's wonderful. We've gotten rid of some bad actors ourselves over here. So yay. I noticed from your window, out the window behind you, that it's dark. It's pitch dark right now. So for me it's noon. For you it's 5 p.m. Is that right?
Yeah, it gets dark right now, 4:30 p.m. But I'm just thinking it was December the 1st today. So I was thinking just 3 weeks time, summer starts approaching again.
That's right. Exactly. You always seem to be looking towards the solstice, right? It never seems to be far away. So I noticed on when we first met, and we got a little bit of an opportunity to chat during the Thriller Fest, the most recent Thriller Fest event, or ITW event, Night of 1,000 Authors. And I noticed behind you, all your hats, and you were kind enough to tell me what they are. Maybe you could tell our friends that are watching.
Sure, I collect. I just move that around. You can see a policeman standing guarding us too. I collect. I try to go out with the police wherever I travel on book promotion around the world. So, over the years I've been out with the police in Russia, which was pretty scary. We actually got shot at in Moscow.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, hey, what? I don't need to do quite this much research.
You can make some of it up.
I've been out with the police in India and Sweden, Germany, France, Australia, New York, LA, and Florida too. And the police know that I collect police memorabilia. Actually, my office is a police museum that I've created. So I have hats behind me from all over the world. I have the white one is a Maltese police helmet. I have the one next to it is an Australian, Western Australia woman police officers. I don't say woman police officer, I would just say police officer.
Just police officer, God.
Female police officer helmet, hat. We have a UK traffic officer, one with the black and white checkered and the white top, French gendarmes cap, just to name a few of them. They always say the traffic cop, the white one, is one you never want to see at 2 o'clock in the morning in your front door, because that's never going to be good news.
No, of course not. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's so interesting. And this is one of the things I love about doing this, is I get to see into everybody's office, and everybody gets to see into my office. And it's kind of like one of the nice things, this has obviously been globally such a difficult and very dark time for so many people, but a silver lining of this has been being able to connect with authors all over the world for this in a way that, usually they keep us in our little hobbit hole writing for, most of the year. And then every so often they like send us out and we get to go on book tour and we go to our conferences and whatever, and we get to connect with each other. But this year we have not been able to do that. So this has been kind of my answer to that moment,
It's actually, in a way, it's odd because when we go to, say, BoucherCon or Thriller Fest, we tend to meet, we'll meet in a bar or we'll meet during a panel discussion. But here on these Zoom interviews, we're actually seeing each other's offices and where we work. And that fascinates me. I'm really curious, nosy persons. I guess you probably are, most authors are. And I was thinking, where do my fellow writers work? And it's fascinating to see what rooms people have their setups in.
Yeah.
In a way, it's almost it's different, but it is personal in another quite unique way.
It is. I mean, and also at conferences, it could be so chaotic, and you might tend to sort of just group with the people that you already know, and there's not as much opportunity to just sit down really and have a good chat. It's always so much going on and you're rushing from one panel to the next and you have your dinners and cocktails and all that stuff. And so this is really kind of a nice moment where even when we did the Night of 1,000 Authors, you were like, Lisa, I thought we were going to get a chance to talk. I was like, well, actually we will, but just not
for very long.
Just not very long, but we can talk here. So I know that you said that in your area that cases are, COVID cases are pretty well contained, but you're still, sort of on lockdown. And, this is kind of a global reality for most of us, even if, things are more open where we are, most of us are still kind of staying closer to home. And most of us, obviously, I've said this a million times, all writers are readers first. This is where we fall in love with story in the pages of somebody else's book. And I just wonder, I know that you're very heavily influenced as a young person by Sherlock Holmes and also by Graham Greene. But I wonder, is there anything right now that you're reading that's really transporting you, or something that you return to again and again for comfort or for inspiration?
It's a great question. Well, there's two books that I can probably, the one that I always return to for comfort and for fun, whenever I think the world is really shit, is Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's the most uplifting book I think I've ever come across. He's got this wonderful, these little philosophical sayings like, I don't know what's going on, and I guess I'm not smart enough to understand if someone were to explain it to me. I think we're being tested by someone or something a whole lot bigger than us.
Yeah.
All I can do is hang around and try and be calm and friendly and have a nice time till it's over. And the book has real slapstick humor as well as deep pathos. It takes you, talks about the firebombing of Dresden. It's a book that at one moment has you in hysterics. The next moment you're going, oh my God, did that happen? But there's this, he peppers it with these lovely little bits of philosophy. There's another lovely line, which is, dear God, grant me always the courage, the wisdom to accept those things I cannot change. Sorry, the courage to accept those things I can change, the serenity to accept those things I cannot, and the wisdom always to tell the difference.
Yes.
And I first read that book when I was 21 and I was at film school. And I put the book down and I immediately rang. And I found Kurt Vonnegut in the phone book on Cape Cod.
You did?
Yeah, he wasn't next directly. So I rang him and he answered. And I was a sort of spotty little 21-year-old. And I said, oh, Mr. Vonnegut, I'm at film school and I've just read your book and I'd love to buy it. And he said, gee, I'm real sorry. He said, I've actually just sold, we sold the rights and they're currently under option. He said, but I tell you what, he said, if you give me your phone number, if the movie ever doesn't happen, I'll call you and then we can talk. And I thought that was such a lovely thing that he said to me, rather than like, fuck off, kid,
Right, exactly.
And then the book I'm reading at the moment, which has been a fantastic insight for me, it's not a fiction book. It's called Humankind. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. It'll come in a sec, but I'll check the name while we're talking. But Humankind is a truly extraordinary book because its whole thesis is that so many people have said that mankind is evil at heart, and that we will default to evil, and that we become savages if we took away the veneer of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And he says no. And he talked about how the Nazis kept on fighting brutally, even though they knew the war was lost. And the author of this says, no, it's actually not. It's not the case. We are not. His name is Rutger Bregman, and he said we are not fundamentally evil. We are actually fundamentally decent. Otherwise, we would never have survived as long as a human race. And did you have a book in America that was kind of a huge book back in the called Lord of the Flies?
Yes, I was actually just going to say this. I was actually just going to bring up Lord of the Flies, and there was an article that that I recently just read about a group of boys who actually did find themselves in the same position as the children in the Lord of the Flies, and in fact behaved in exactly the opposite way as the imagined boys of Golding's novel.
I think these are the kids that Rutger Bregman found. They were from Fiji.
Ah, yes.
In Lord of the Flies, basically these kids get wrecked on a desert island, and they just basically become savage.
Mm-hmm.
He spent years trying to find, and eventually found, and it was a bunch of middle-class teenage boys
Mm-hmm.
who sailed from Fiji in a raft. They were going off with some crazy idea of a teenage exploration.
Yeah.
And they got blown by the wind, shipwrecked, and were there 18 months before they were rescued. And they organized themselves perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
If two of them argued, one would be sent, they'd be sent to opposite ends of the island.
Yeah.
And when they came back, they had to make up and be friends again. And he said that Golding was a depressive, like a semi-alcoholic, and that was his kind of morbid view of the world. But it's not. And he delved into to the evil of the concentration camps, and also he looked at the Stanford, all the tests and as you probably know about with the electric shocks and things.
Mm-hmm.
And he said a lot of what we perceive as evil comes out of actually people being loyal, people wanting to please.
Yes.
He said that the Germans at the end of the war, even when they knew all was lost, fought more bitterly than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And the theory has always been this was indoctrination of the Germans.
Yeah.
And the British government spent a huge amount of money printing millions and millions of leaflets telling the Germans they'd been indoctrinated and airlifting them, dropping them on cities. No effect at all, because it turned out, according to Bregman, this wasn't about indoctrination. This was about basically Germans being very loyal to what they called their brothers.
Yes. Yes.
And it was just loyalty to their friends, their brothers in arms that kept them going. Nothing to do with indoctrination. So he really did. It takes a lot of sort of preconceptions, and it's a book you actually put down with a much more positive view of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think here in the U.S. there's another author. I hope I'm not misspeaking, but I think it's Steven Pinker, who posits that, I mean, I think it's easy to look at the news and just feel sort of depressed about the sort of the state of the world and the state of relations between people. And then you could see that, protests that were happening in the 60s are, still happening today. I think it's easy to think that, we're at a stasis, or that we're on some kind of a backward slide towards chaos or whatever, but it's actually not true. It's actually, things are, and I always do firmly believe this, that things are moving towards the light. It's not maybe at the pace that we would like, and it may not be within our lifetimes that we're going to see that evolution, but I do believe that things are getting better, and people are evolving, and that things are moving towards greater equality and more sort of an idea of unity, and the concept that we're really just one. And I believe that it is moving that way. I kind of, in my heart, and I have a lot of cynical friends who like they call me the unicorn. They're like, "Oh, where's your glitter?" Like it's
No,
interesting.
I'm with you. So I was just listening. I caught a radio discussion this morning about the Puritans, the Cromwell in England in around 1640. Oh, look at that dog. What is he?
That's my Labradoodle, Jack. Jack. He always does this. It's his camp.
We have a Labradoodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, called Spooky. Same color.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, there's Jack.
Hi.
Sweet boy.
And the discussion today was about the Puritans and that they banned Christmas. England was not allowed to celebrate Christmas. It was deemed a fast day, and this went on for years. And there was an excerpt from a diary of a guy who went with his wife to try to celebrate Christmas in church and found themselves surrounded by soldiers, guns pointed at them. So, we have moved forward, I think, into a lot more enlightened times.
Yes.
It goes in bumps and starts, and yeah, we're getting there.
Long way to go, in many ways, and certainly a lot of inequality and injustice to be, dealt with and remedied. But I do believe that most people just want everyone to be safe and happy and free and equal. And I believe that that is the desire of most people, and that people who don't desire that are they're fringe. Many of them happen to have the megaphone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Most of us are, not those extreme.
We see examples here, and we moved to this beautiful island 3 years ago. People here don't lock their doors.
Right.
You don't lock your car. I mean, I might lock it if I was leaving a laptop in it or something, but there is a sort of friendliness, and that is, I don't think is exceptional. I think in an environment where people can do what they want, I think their default is most people to be decent.
Most people, yes, absolutely. But of course, not all people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything to write about.
No, we need those, absolutely. Yes, please. Don't stop. Come on.
It's not that good. There are lots of bad people out there.
I do a lot of talks in prisons because it gives me the chance to meet and mingle with the prisoners. I give talks in prisons to try to encourage prisoners to read and write.
Yes.
Because, literally, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the average reading age for 50% of the inmates of British prisons is below 11 years old.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gives me the chance to then meet and mingle with prisoners. And I've had so many characters in books. I mean, I got an entire book out of a visit to a women's prison about 8 years ago. And there was this, giving a talk in the library, and there was this one woman. She was really asking intelligent questions about literature. She's asked about Faulkner and Hemingway and Dickens, and I mean, I was struggling with some of the answers, and I thought, I wonder what you're in for. She was about 55, well-spoken, and my guess was maybe she'd kill somebody, drink driving, something like that, or a bit of fraud or something. Anyhow, I get to mingle with her afterwards. This is a prison. I mean, women's prisons in England, they don't categorize them. So you could be in for a minor offense, you could be in for murder. Anyway, I get up to her, and I never asked them what they've done. I said, how much longer do you have to go? And she looked at me and said, 9.5 more bloody years. And it's just not fair. There's a woman who did exactly what I did in London. She's only got 6 more years. I said, what brought you in here? Well, I poisoned my mother-in-law, the old bag. Okay.
Okay.
She said, well, the thing was, you see, she went into hospital to die. So I embezzled her bank account. And the bloody woman didn't die. She came back home. I realized she'd find out what I'd done. So I decided I had to poison her. Then I realized my husband would find out. So I had to poison him too. And it's just not fair. This woman did exactly what I did in London. She's only got 6 more years.
Wow.
When I was being taken out, I said to the officer, I said, is that woman for real? He said, oh, yes, her husband was 3 months on life support. He's got permanent brain damage.
Oh, my
She
God.
was angry about the length of her sentence. And I thought, you have to be a character in a future book.
Oh, my God.
And I down-aged her, and I made her a kind of woman who targets rich guys and murders them in a Roy Grace novel called Love You Dead.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, so truth is stranger Truth is stranger than fiction usually, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think so
some
true.
of the stuff you can't even some of the stuff you can't even make up.
Yeah.
And and of course, this sort of delving into, psychology and what makes people tick, and what makes people do the things they do. That's a big part of your work, a big part of mine as well. And so we're reading a lot more, while we're kind of on lockdown, but we're also, we're all just like kind of in love with these types of stories, right? Like this is just the way our brains work. And so we're in love with story kind of across format as well. So is there anything that you are watching on television, or is there a film, something that's really transporting you right now, or again, something that you kind of return to whenever you need like inspiration, or just a movie that you want to watch over and over again?
Well, the movie I pretty watched more times than any other is Peter Sellers' Return of the Pink Panther.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah.
If you ever need a smile on your face,
So true.
um,
And
I
it's
saw,
always funny. Every single time you laugh the way you
uh,
did the first time.
when he walks along and he says to the guy in the street, he says, "Does your dog bite?" And he bends down and the dog snaps his hand. He said, "I thought you said your dog does not bite." And the guy says, "It's not my dog." That's stupid, but
It's hilarious every time. Every time it's
you'd
hilarious.
have to be the most miserable person on earth not to find that movie funny. Um,
So true.
and I, in terms of more serious drama, well, we've been watching The Crown along with most of them.
Oh, I love The Crown. That's a show I watch over and over and over again, particularly the first two seasons, which I found.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I do think with historical drama, it should be accurate. So it annoys me that there's a lot that is not. But what I found that's fascinating has been it's a great social history of England.
Yes,
Yeah, you've seen England through the ages, and that has kind of really kind of mesmerized me.
it is.
And the drama that I've watched and rewatched was made about 5 years ago. It's John le Carre, The Night Manager.
Oh, right. Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like I have not watched that. I've read it, but I don't feel that I've watched the show. I keep meaning to.
I think it's the best thing that's been best drama that's been on television, certainly in the UK in the last decade.
Okay.
It's superb. And I've watched it several times because there's such great acting performances. It's fun,
Mm-hmm.
tough, but there's great. It's Tom Hiddleston and Tom Hollander and Hugh Laurie, and it is brilliant. I love that. And I love it when I find a great drama. We're about to watch The Undoing. I don't know if you've had that in the
I haven't.
States yet.
I haven't.
That's had great rave reviews. Breaking Bad,
Yeah,
that was amazing.
it was. That's like an all-time
Yeah,
hit, right? I mean, it's one of those shows that's just is iconic, become iconic.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, always on Three Good Things, I always finish up asking about cooking. Because a lot, obviously most of us we're home, we're cooking more than we've ever cooked before, even if we were already cooks, which in my family we are and we were, but now we're like just constantly cooking. So is that true for you and your family, or is there something that, is like kind of your go-to meal right now, or some special kind of comfort dish that, you guys make whenever you're just like, okay, we've really had a horrible day, we need to make this thing? Is there anything like that for you?
Oh yeah, I have a comfort dish and a comfort drink, and
Yeah.
the kind of go-to simple dish is avocado. I make a avocado on toast with poached eggs.
Oh yeah,
Just
that's so great. It's the best.
mash,
It's so simple.
mash an avocado with some squeezed lime and some chili peppers, a little bit of turmeric. That kind
Mhm.
of mash that onto toast. Slice a few tomatoes on the side, and then poach eggs on top, and that is like our go-to default this comfort Sunday brunch with a hangover meal.
Exactly, exactly.
And my drink, I'm a vodka martini
Uh-huh.
fan. My best writing time is 6 till 9 in the evenings,
Ah.
and I always start my writing evening off with a vodka martini. And I'm very particular how it's made. The vodka I like, I vary with vodka right now. Grey Goose is my kind of favorite.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a wonderful, Dorothy Parker said about the martini. She once said, ladies, beware the dry martini. Have 2 at the very most. For 3, you'll be under the table. And with 4, you'll be under your host.
That's great. I love that. Perfect. And very, very true. Very true.
Yeah. So, you know, the essence is Grey Goose. And then you just take the cap of the martini. I like dry vermouth, martini dry. Just fill the little cap.
Mm-hmm.
In. And then I put lemon round the outside of the glass, rub it round, and then 4 Sicilian olives, green Sicilian olives, and then shake it until it's really, really cold.
Yeah.
And it's just rocket fuel. I love it.
It sounds like it. Although for me, it probably just put me to sleep. If I had a vodka martini before I started writing, well, my best writing hours are from 5 a.m. to noon. So I don't think it's gonna work for that. It's more like the unwind for me after.
Yeah, maybe coffee is better.
I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a try. See what happens.
Yeah, hey.
It's always good to experiment.
Absolutely.
Peter, it's been so amazing talking to you. Thank you for joining us for 3 Good Things. And I definitely have some books on my list and also some things to watch. So thank you for joining us and for sharing your time with us. I know that everybody is going to just love hearing from you and hearing more about your books. And so it's very easy to find Peter, right? It's just peterjames.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my website. And then I've got, I can find kind of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and
we're everywhere, aren't we? Synonymous.
Great to talk to you too. And listen, have a great Christmas. Stay safe.
Thank you. You as well.
And see you when we're back in the real world again.
Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you.
And good luck with your paperback coming out in England.
Yeah, it'll be out in March.
On the 7:45.
Yeah, Confessions on the 7:45. It'll be it's out in the UK now on audio and but it will be out in paperback in the UK in March. It's currently on sale in the rest of the world.
I'll try and buy the first copy that appears in a bookshop.
I hope you do. I hope you and post about it on social media, because that's what we all have to do these days.
I will. I'll post that, and we'll get you on the author studio as well at some point.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, Lisa. Take care.
Thank you.